Welcome to another edition of the Destinations Podcast. I'm your host, Doni Aldine, and I'm really excited for 2024. As you can see, we have a new format for our podcast. We have lots of great guests for you this year. Everything from CEOs from global corporations to entrepreneurs, and of course, globally mobile and globally culturally fluid people from around the world. So super excited for this season, and I think that you will be too. Today, our guest is Patricia Rain, who hails from Florida. She flew in to be with us today and to do the taping. So I'm excited to talk about her new column in Culture's print magazine, which is on beauty, multicultural beauty. So we'll have topics that are specifically for our particular population, including people of color, because usually we're left out, but not now. So without further ado, welcome, Patricia. How are you?
Hello, Doni. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm excited to have you.
This conversation. I am so excited just to talk about beauty on another level. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about your background. I specifically didn't give you a large intro because I want you to tell us about yourself and your company.
Yes. So as Doni mentioned, Patricia Rain, founder of Traveling Aura Mobile Spa. We are a luxury mobile spa experience. We pamper clients in their home, office, or hotel, and that includes massages, nails, and facials. And we come to you. As we know, the world changed so much post-pandemic. Convenience is no longer a far-fetched concept, and so people want these services coming to them. And so a little bit about myself, I have been in the industry for 20 years. I got licensed as a manicurist at 16. And so I kept the license. I went off to college and I just realized, beauty is not going to change despite your age, wherever you live in the world. That's one of the things I love about being in this space, is because when I go to beauty shows, you see all walks of life, because we all participate in some form of beauty wellness component. And so my family is originally from Haiti. And so I'm first generation American, born in the United States. And so there was, implementing that beauty element from their point of view after actually going to school is completely different, because they tend to do things incorrectly.
They meaning?
My family.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's like, no, that is not the proper way to apply any products. It's just and that's all. You all will have to tune into the entire column, because I have a lot to say about that.
Well, I don't know. So in Trinidad, well, I guess I'm trying to, am I blending my cultures here? Is this a Trinidadian thing or was it an American thing? I think it's an American thing. So in Trinidad, you put talcum powder everywhere because it's hot and you're trying to stay dry. But I always found that it just made you creasy. But in the States, I noticed people slather your face with Vaseline. What is that about?
And that, no one should be doing that. Let me look into the camera.
I thought Vaseline was good for your skin. Okay, go ahead.
It's good for your lips, right? And it's good to moisturize and hydrate. However, it can clog the pores. Because
Vaseline, I thought it was non-comedogenic.
Well, it can be too heavy, especially if your skin is oily.
Ah.
So if you tend to have more dry skin, a light usage of a Vaseline is okay. But what you're referring to is excessive. What? It's no, you should not.
At first I was going to say, in Trinidad we did this, and then I thought, wait a second, no, I think that was in the U.S. And I think it's I wonder if it's in colder states that they do that. Yes. But I see that all the time, parents.
So you can put it everywhere but your face.
Okay.
Because your face absorbs it all. And so our skin is our largest organ.
Well, when I was in my 20s, I remember I met this African-American woman who had absolutely flawless skin. And she was probably in her late 40s. And I asked her, what do you do? She said she washed with water and she put Vaseline on every day.
We're going to attribute that to genetics.
Okay.
We're going to attribute that to genetics. Water and Vaseline. Vaseline.
Not your
It
thing.
does keep the moisture, but it can be too heavy for the face.
Okay, gotcha.
Sure. Especially if you're oily already.
Well, I took you off a path, so go finish telling us about yourself. So your family's from Haiti. You went off to college.
Yes, went off to college, got a degree in criminal justice. I was going to go to law school. That is, and a minor in journalism. And so, but I still had the license. And I started noticing that no one talks about how you can bridge these different industries together. And I started to meet people who were attorneys, but they did nails on the side because that was like their creative outlet. And I was like, wow, like there's something missing here that we're not talking about more on that connection. And so I said, wow, let's take this to another level. At the time when I graduated from college, we were coming from the economic downturn, and I watched my friends kind of like struggle to get into law school, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to embark on that level of stress, preparing for the LSAT. And so I decided to just kind of focus on the beauty and wellness. I'm like, keep my license active and just go back into that space. And then it started to evolve more, technology involved. You had social media. So the way people saw beauty and how they consumed those things began to change. People it no longer became a luxury where it was something that you just did for special occasions. People wanted to bring this into their home and make it a lifestyle, which tends to be my messaging. How do you make it a lifestyle?
So we were talking about this earlier I just recently saw a video, meaning yesterday, saw a video about Gen Z, and supposedly Gen Z is aging faster than millennials and Gen X. So what do you attribute that to?
So one of my clients who happens to be a chiropractor, she was saying, we were having a conversation about posture, because one of the things we say, and I talk about this a lot, especially having massage therapists on my team, sitting is the new smoking. And as a culture of people, we sit way more than we did back then because obviously cars were not as accessible as they are now.
Or as luxurious.
Right. And so she said to me, her client who was 16 years old, his spine was a spine of a 70-year-old because he was a gamer. And so when he's sitting, his posture is not. And so you have to think about this, how it declines. If you're sitting for 10, 15 hours, you barely want to get up and use the restroom, and you do this for years, it starts to deteriorate the spine. And so she said he had a spine of a 70-year-old. He was 16.
Oh my goodness. Did she talk about ways to...
Yes. So one of the ways to combat it is obviously stretching in between. And so that's one of the messages that we tell our clients, like, especially because we're on our laptops a lot more, we're on our phones. And so a lot of that deterioration happens because you're sitting here and look at your neck.
I try really hard not to do that, but you look crazy with it.
You do, but your spine will thank you later.
Yes. And I can feel it too. You can feel your head is like a bowling ball. So
it is.
like, okay.
So you're supposed to hold it at eye level. And so one of the things that her and I talked about is, are you stretching in between? Like, people think you have to do long stretches, but if you can catch yourself to get up and stretch every hour for 5 minutes, and it's the small increments of consistency, because you didn't get that way in one day.
Overnight, yeah.
So you have to build this. So if you can remember to, like, even when you're working on a project and you're like, one more email, just get up and stretch. One more email.
One more email. I said no one ever.
Says no one ever. 3 hours later.
So when you're doing that to your spine, does it affect, we're talking about beauty, but really beauty is also grooming. It's also health. It's how you take care of yourself. So is it affecting how you look and how you're aging? So your spine, not only is your spine 70, but that means the rest of you is probably a lot older as well.
Absolutely. So what we call the double chin. That's why when you hold your phone like this,
Oh, is that why?
So think about this, right? The skin begins to...
Oh my gosh. Because the other day I was like, I need to work on this, maybe.
So you could do exercises where one of the things, this is going to feel weird when you're doing it, and I'm going to look weird on camera doing it.
I think I know what you're going to do. I actually do this, and I actually love it. It feels really good. Yeah. But I stuck mine way further out.
Well, and that's what you do. So you're familiar. And what it does, it stretches to not allow the skin to. So that's, again, if you feel good, if you know, like you said, it begins to wear in other parts of your body, and you don't realize it. So from the spine, lower back pain from sitting for too long, which can lead to sciatica and those issues, which can affect you going out and doing outdoor activities, you know? And so we tend to not, because you have to think about it, technology, how we use it now, is still new to us. And so a lot of people don't realize how it's going to affect their posture, and that's over time.
You know what else? It's interesting because with COVID, I was in my loft for 13 months straight. I did not go out. I barely took out the trash. I'd be outside looking like, who's out here? I remember one time somebody sneezed down the road and there was some window. I'm like, ah! And I ran back inside.
That is hilarious.
But so I stayed in my loft, right? And I had this balcony. And I called it Italy on the balcony because I was supposed to go to Italy that year. Did not go. Man, I kept getting more flowers and pots of flowers everywhere. We had 2 umbrellas on the balcony. All my neighbors would come, be like, oh my God, it's so pretty up there. I'm like, yes, I know, because I don't go anywhere else. So the balcony must look nice. But what I noticed, first of all, after 13 months, it was like, I was okay until, I think about, what's her name? Anne Frank. And I think about how they were in that bunker for 2 years, right? With people on top of them. But I mean, so with a lot of people together. But for me, it was 13 months completely by myself. I wouldn't even let family come over. So what saved me was the balcony and the tub. Took a bath every night. It was like having a warm hug every night. But after 13 months, man, my hip flexors, and it affects your back too. And so people don't realize when you get older and you see a lot of older people do that shuffle, isn't it because your hip flexors are tight?
Yeah.
And I remember one day I was like, why am I shuffling? So I started working on that. But it's interesting to see, and I started doing research on it, that the sitting affects so much.
Many things.
So many things.
It goes all the way down to even to the bottom of the feet.
Wow.
Yeah, which is why reflexology is which is when you're doing the pressure points on the bottom of the feet. It connects to every part of the upper body.
Right.
And so people will be like, oh, pedicure is just to look good. I'm like, no.
It's
your
more
feet,
than that.
think about it. You walk on your feet from the time you're a child. You learn how to walk, not to mention if you were an athlete, if you, participated in extracurriculars, that wear and tear from the concrete, from not wearing proper shoes.
Yes.
And so it becomes like, oh, this is just a luxury. And it's like, no, this is a lifestyle.
It's so funny. One of our readers actually just reposted something on LinkedIn and said, oh, you definitely should treat yourself to this magazine. And you'll also find a lot of luxury. So when she interacts with me, she often says something about luxury. She thinks I'm always doing these luxurious things. Like taking a bath every day. Where I feel like these aren't luxuries. These are necessities to take care of your body. I have a thing about feet and taking care of your feet, right? And a lot of people, I think it's just a throwaway. They don't think about it. And maybe it was because I was an athlete. One thing that always is interesting to me, people talk about breaking in their shoes. I have never had to break in a pair of shoes. I'm like, where are these shoes that you have to break in? I'm like, if they hurt, you don't buy them. Right?
Breaking in means leave them in the store.
Exactly right? So I really take care of my feet. And I think one time I bought a pair of shoes, recently actually, bought a pair of shoes that when I went to wear them, I was like, what happened? And they were not pretty shoes. You think it's the pretty ones that are going to hurt your feet. Some of these ugly shoes
will do some damage. And that's a part of wellness and self-care, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you comfortable? Are you wearing these shoes for comfort or just to look good? It's like, hey, we are past those stages. And there's a saying
I don't know if I'm past that stage. I would like to meld the two together if I can.
Let's have a happy medium. Well, that means you have to get more pedicures. And more.
Well, no, you don't have to tell me to get more. I get pedicures. You don't have to tell me twice. A manicure might be a different thing. Don't look at the nails. But a pedicure for sure. That, to me, like you said, that is health. And and it affects all of the rest of your body and your well-being. I make a point too. I go to a natural nail salon. I do not like to go to the salons that do the chemical processes because I can feel it. I feel different when I walk in. I don't like how I feel when I leave. But this natural salon, as soon as you walk in, just the scent, everything, it's just uplifting. It changes your whole mood. And I think people don't pay attention enough to their environment. Like what we do every day affects us so much. So when in terms of beauty, what do you think, how do you feel about that?
So one thing I do want to add to something you said earlier is to anyone listening, you're not old, you just lack movement. Are you doing movement on a regular basis? Start small, 5 minutes. And do it consistently. Your body will thank you later. Because you won't have certain mobility as you mature. But I've seen people in their 70s do things
Yes, exactly. Well, it's interesting. So last year I was in Costa Rica, and if anyone who's been to Costa Rica, I'm Costa Rican, and I say they, like, they have these trees. In Costa Rica, there are these trees. That the roots grow up and they form like a tree and they're hollow inside. So we went on this excursion where all of us climbed up through the tree, which, the rest of them were little skinny minis. I was a little scared at one point that I was going to get stuck on the outside, trying to get to the outside. I didn't tell anyone, but my mind was like, oh my God. We get stuck in this tree.
Just set an example.
But what was funny, so you're in gear, like, like climbing gear or whatever, and because you're climbing up the inside. It was it was probably 7 stories tall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe 5 stories tall. So anyway, you're going up and they have metal things in there that you could pull yourself up on, but then you also pull yourself up on roots and things like that. It was hilarious. There were probably 8 of us. And I think they were going to have me go last because I think they saw the gray and they were like, no, you're not going to hold the rest of us up, right?
You're like, psych.
So they picked this cute little 20-something, very thin woman who held us all up all day. I was not happy, right? So she got to the top and was so freaked out and scared and also didn't have the arm strength to really pull all the way up. So we're all waiting patiently and she finally came back down, right? And then again, I still think they were going to have me go last. I was like, look, no, I'm going next.
Right.
And I think they were surprised, right? Like people were checking out. Are you okay? Why are you asking me? Are you okay? I am fine.
Go ask her if she's all right.
Why did you send her? So to your point, it's not really how you look. Well, it's how you look, but how do you take care of yourself, right? Being mobile through your in these days 40s. I remember when I was in my 40s, I kept thinking, why do people think you look old in your 40s? Like nobody I know looks old in their 40s. And then I went to this conference because we hang out with like-minded people, right? I hang out with people who do yoga, who take care of their skin, eat well. Went to this conference and I'll never forget. And he was such a lovely gentleman. Y'all, don't judge me. I'm about to say something. I'm sure you will judge me. And so lovely. And we had been talking and he and his wife, lovely, lovely people. And he got the microphone. He was talking in front of the whole group of people. And he said, and I'm thinking the man is like 20 years older than me. He said, I just turned 40. It turns out he was like 8 years younger than me. And I was like, oh, that's why. That's why people think you look old when you're 40.
Well, and that's how I feel about being, in my 30s. I'm like, y'all make it feel so much older than it actually is. I'm like, I don't feel old. I'm like, why is
you also
everyone...
think of the standard American diet, and I think that's why a lot of people, you age internally. Like you're talking about the back and the posture and the phones. I mean, we're all guilty of something, right? But the cumulative effect makes such a difference. So mobility, I see as a different. Was it you that I was talking to about? Oh no, I was talking to a friend yesterday who's in her late 40s, and I was like, yeah, 53 came and there's like a cliff. You're like, what? Wait, what happened? How did I fall off the cliff? Well, things you did not expect to happen just happened.
Right. Well, that's why I said to all the women that I used to judge when I used to be like, she need to sit her old behind down. I'm like, I feel it now. I get it. You don't feel old. It's like, so I'm going to be the one that, they're going to be saying that to. Like, where's she going?
Do you know who Tracy Ellis Ross is?
I love Tracy.
I mean, I think a lot of you will know who Tracy Ellis Ross is. She was on Girlfriends. She was on Blackish. Is Blackish still on?
Yeah, well, I think they changed the name to like Mixed-ish or something.
No, that was a spinoff with Yara Shahidi, who is one of both Tracy and Yara are part of our audience, the multicultural, multi-ethnic, mixed race audience, and so Tracy Ellis Ross. I got to meet her in Cannes when we were there last summer. Yeah, it was fantastic. But she turned 50 this year, or I guess in 2023, she turned 50. Yeah. And it was funny to watch her Instagram because she was like, hey, I woke up and everything hurts. She's like, I guess this is 50. I'm like, yes, it is. But I don't have that anymore, actually, because if you pay attention and you tackle it, I think you have the opportunity to make a difference in your own body as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that we weren't taught to do enough of, is pay attention to your body. Like, what is like you said, when you walked in the salon, when you leave in a salon that has chemicals, you feel differently. But that's because you were paying attention, and oftentimes people are just kind of like going through life and they're not paying attention to how their body responds. And I've been guilty of it as well because, until someone educates me, I'm like, oh, that's what that means. And so that's why these conversations are important, because it teaches people how to pay attention to their body, because everybody's self-care and wellness is going to look differently.
Look a little different, right? And what's important to one person isn't to another one. And our sensitivities are different as well, right? I know for me, smell is, my sense of smell is so heightened. And people never understand until they're around me and something happens. I'm like, do you smell that? And they're like, what are you talking about? And then later it's like, oh, how did you smell that?
Right. And then climate, right? Where you live and, is it more dry? And how does that impact, your nervous system?
Yes.
And all of these things communicate together. We don't realize it, but then we somehow put them in separate categories as if it's going back to your point on the luxury. It's just like, no, this is not a luxury.
Yeah, I feel like this should be every day. Now, don't come for me. I'm not, some people might say I'm privileged, but I think no matter where you are and what you do, I mean, I think if you're on survival mode just in life, it's harder to pay attention, right? And we do still have a choice to pay attention to the things that are accessible to us at the time, right? So to me, a bath is easy, but for some people, I mean, that's a lot of water, right? A lot of electricity, maybe even a lot of time. It's so funny when we came into taping today and I was like, because we were up really late, right? 3 a.m. So as you know, we're global, so calls from all over the world, and it's like, oh, good Lord. I need to sleep. We have a long day of taping tomorrow. And it's interesting because I was thinking this morning, in the past, I would have jumped right up and done all my things. And today I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that. It's like, I'm tired. I just now got to sleep. I mean, I got plenty of sleep, but I think one thing people don't realize too, it's when you sleep. So going to bed at 3 a.m. till 10 a.m. is not the same 7 hours as going to bed at 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
And then at that 3 a.m., you're also thinking about, things that you have to do as well. So it's like your mind doesn't necessarily go into that peaceful sleep per se, because you're over here like, did I send that email?
I got to tell you, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking, why don't you go to sleep?
That's how I was. I was putting things out, and I'm like, are you really setting things out right now? Like, you've been traveling all day.
Well, I thought that to myself, too. I was like, you should just get up and do something because you're up. And I was like, I don't want, my other side of my brain, I don't want to.
And that is a form of self-care and wellness, too, that we don't talk enough about.
And that's why I brought that up, because we all have choices every day to take care of ourselves. And I think it's really important that we look at what does that look like for us, right? In the moment, at the time, whatever the case may be. And it doesn't matter what other people call self-care. It's interesting. I see a lot. Now, we know you have a company that does massage. I love getting massage. I am a massage connoisseur. I've been doing it since my 20s.
I can't wait for you to get touched by one of my massage.
What are you next time I go to Miami, I'll have to do that. I think I might, on the way to Trinidad, I might be in Miami, actually.
I have a Thai. He's Thai.
Oh, yes. Does he do Thai massage?
Yes.
Okay.
Girl.
If y'all haven't had Thai massage, talk about stretching. I mean, it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But now I forgot what I was going to tell you. We were talking about choosing what
that
is
looks like
self-care
for you.
Oh yeah, so a lot of people will talk about spa days, and I mean, there's so much more to self-care. I think it's basically just taking care of you, and whatever that looks like for you.
And I want to preface that and put a focus on that because I think that's why people identify it as luxurious, because in their mind, they think that it has to look like, oh, I'm at a spa and they have a sauna and they have a hot tub. And that's not the case. You know, it might just be you went and bought, you know, yourself some flowers, or you went to a local garden and you picked some flowers.
I love that.
And you put
or
that,
just in the yard and put it on your desk.
and put it on your desk.
Yes,
you know, utilizing natural products, you know, that are on the land to infuse that self-care and wellness. And see, people think that it always requires this whole production of wellness and self-care, and that's why it gets identified. Yeah. Because think about it, back in the day, I remember growing up and painting your own nails at home was like a bonding thing. You know what I mean? Like to connect, like moms connected, siblings connected, cousins connected. We'll do each other's nails and we'll chat. We'll put on our little eye mask.
Girl, I had brothers.
Well, they could use a pedicure too.
No one was painting anything.
Give them a little neck massage with some elbow grease, you know. Guys need self-care too, guys. Guys, listen. Pampering is for you as well.
I was strictly talking about the painting of the nails.
Well, I do love that more guys are getting nails and pedis now.
Yes.
And what I find funny is, like, there was a conversation on the radio once where the radio person, I think it was Steve Harvey actually, where the topic was, guys, do you prefer your natural buff or your clear polish? And so the guys are like, heck no, I don't want clear polish.
Well, it's interesting that they brought out clear polish, because you saw Blake's nails looked amazing. I think today he had on like a nude color. Yeah. They looked, I felt a little
naked.
I know, right?
Like Blake. And so that's even like a thing too for men that are artists, that are musicians. You know, they're getting nail art. You know, and it's no longer a far-fetched.
We have
concept.
dads with their daughters. To your point about the painting of the nails, yes, and having their daughters paint their toenails or paint their nails or whatever.
And it's like a bonding experience. Like I've had dads that are like, let their daughters paint their nails pink.
Or their sons.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they do the thumb. They're like, hey, we'll just do something fun on the thumb, like some nail art and stuff like that. Actually, we had a client that she was turning 13. And so they had like this outdoor wellness thing. And then she's like, Dad, I want to paint your nails. And he's like, all right. And I was like, you are so cool. I'm like,
I mean, I think it's amazing. So how much of your culture, your family's culture from Haiti, do you think is infused into your views about beauty?
So Caribbean people love being beautiful.
Yes.
Like, we are so extra, it's not even funny, but I love it.
Hey, talk for yourself. No, I guess we're about to go to Carnival. I guess we are a little extra.
And I was like, so I feel like it's a part of me, and I didn't even realize it because, you know, my family being from Haiti gets identified as like the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. But when I go there, like, we are very astute people, like in terms of how we look and present. Yes. And it's like, don't allow these outside things to take away from your essence and your poise.
And it's interesting. This is a whole nother topic. We should talk about it another time. I think most people don't realize that the poverty in Haiti came from paying France for the revolution from over a century ago. Okay, yes, another conversation. We'll stick to beauty right now. But yes, no matter the situation, you could still be as regal as possible. I think everything in life comes back to mindset, right? And it sounds like to me what you're saying is beauty. It's as much about health as beauty. As it is beauty, taking care of your body, what you put inside, because that affects your skin, affects how you move, affects how your body looks. All of those things.
They're not
Is that
two separate.
correct?
Yeah, they're not separate things. I find that, people tend to separate them as if it's, hey, this is separate from, no, it's not, And I think it gets that because there are people, just like everything, who may do things in an excessive manner, right? They excessively apply makeup. They excessively, do these luxurious things. And so people feel that they have to do it that way. And that's why my messaging is create what works for you, identify what that is, and it's a mindset. And it's not separate.
So, when you talk about, let's say, makeup, you mentioned makeup. What do you think about the chemicals in makeup? We talked a little bit about the environment and everything that's around us. I think people don't realize the chemicals in the air, the chemicals in the water, and in the furniture that's all around us. And the skin is our largest organ. What do you think about makeup? And because sometimes I see people putting on a lot every day. First of all, I don't have time for that. But
well, and then too, what does that in between look like? Some people will wear a lot of makeup, but they don't do skincare. And it's like, how are you treating the skin underneath that? Because I feel like makeup should be an enhancement. Like it shouldn't change how you look or who you are. But are you taking care of that? With drinking water, the foods that you're eating, how is your body responding to that? Because a lot of times it'll show up internally within your skin in those places if you're paying attention, And so are you using, being more mindful? I think we're in a more conscious world now where people are more conscious of what's being used in the products that are being made. But then also I think there's not enough conversation about your food intake, your water intake, and what does your skincare routine look like?
So, because most people are not going to stop wearing makeup anytime soon, right? It's been around for a long time. On a daily basis, though, I usually lipstick and mascara. And that's
Me too.
Well, concealer changes my whole face. So
Yeah.
if I don't do anything else, your mom always, I don't know if your mom did. My mom always said, put some color on.
What's funny? My mom, she will only do makeup when she was like going to an activity or something of that nature. She wasn't the excessive. And I'm just like, why, girl?
Well, it's so interesting. Because I usually never went out without concealer and lip. And only recently have I been doing that mascara. Because I think as I get older, my eyes must be closing. Half the time when I'm smiling, people are like, oh, your eyes turn into little slits. But I started doing, what is that oil? Castor oil. I love the way castor oil looks on your lips. Oh my goodness.
Keeps it moisturized.
It looks like gloss.
Yeah. It feels great. And especially
great.
in this climate too. Like whenever I'm here in Colorado.
We're
I'm
taping
just
in Colorado, yeah.
I'm like, girl, where's the lip balm?
She flew from Miami. I know that you feel like you want to crack. Like you're a salt pillar. You're about to just.
Well, the great thing is it's not my first time coming, so I feel like I've been prepped.
Yes.
Gradually.
You've learned. Did you have water today?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
When you come to Colorado, people, you need to drink your water. Dehydration. So let's talk about water intake a little bit with all of this that we're suggesting. What is your take on it? Because lately, there's the 8 glasses, and then now people talk about half of your weight in ounces, and it seems to have changed over time. What's your thought?
So my thought is up the intake for sure. And it can vary. I've heard the, body weight to ratio as well. I don't know much about it, so I go more lean towards of the quantity of glasses that I have. So I try to do at least I'm trying to work to a gallon a day, but I do at least a half.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, you can feel the difference and see the difference when you are replenishing yourself. And we forget that majority of your body is comprised of water as well.
And your brain. Your brain, very much so. Have you heard of hydrolyzed? No. I forget the term. Hydrogenated water. I don't know.
That's a new one.
I know.
I thought you were going to say hydrangeas. I'm like, I love hydrangeas.
We'll have to add that to the video. But it's like a new thing. It's supposed to be amazing for your body. Like, it just wakes up all of your cells. So
is it more alkaline based?
I don't know. I'm like, is it an extra hydrogen what is it? We need to, that should be a column.
That would be great. Cause I've been, when you talk about pH, that's why the alkaline waters is like, it's big on the pH scale. And, they normally say 7 to 14. And it's just like, that's really, there's more to that scale than the 7 and 14, but somehow we just kind of focus on just that portion. So we'll have to add that into that conversation as well.
Well, I love this intro that we've done to your column of what you're going to have for the year. So before we go, I'd like to close with what specific things for our population, so multicultural, multi-ethnic, multicultural, mixed race, geographically mobile people like immigrants, refugees, and third culture kids, what specific things will you be having this year to focus on them?
So I am so excited because I feel I have an opportunity to showcase what I do on another level. So what I want to do is to continue what we talked about, show people how to determine what their self-care and wellness is, what that looks like, and in these different spaces, utilizing things that does not have to break the bank. No matter where you are in the world. If you're traveling a lot, what ways you can implement this self-care and wellness. It doesn't not have to take a back seat just because you're in this place in the world or you're traveling a lot. So I intend to bring you that element to show you how to maximize self-care and wellness on the go.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to what's to come for 24.
Thank you. Thank you. And to our audience, we'll be bringing you all the goodness so you can live in full color.